Okay, we are going to do day 6 of Crabby and the Whales. Let's start with our team cooperation goal is still help and encourage others. So think about what that looks like and what that sounds like. So it looks like you are not just giving the answers and that you are giving hints instead. And it sounds like encouraging others, telling them that they're doing a good job, and thanking them for any help that they've given you. We are still looking at questioning for our reading skill. When good readers read, they ask themselves questions to help them think about what they're reading and learning. Asking questions helps readers make sure that they understand what they read because they use information from the text and background knowledge. Remember, you have your question strategy card. So on it says, ask right there questions about what you read, and you use right there question words like who, what, when, why, and how. You challenge yourself with think questions, and you can use some of these think question starters like what do you think about, or how do you know that, or why or why not, or what do you predict? What conclusion can you draw? How does this compare to? You answer the questions with complete information or explanations. Remember, right there questions can be answered with only the story or text. It can be answered from one passage or page. Think questions can be answered with the text and maybe even some of your background knowledge. It asks you to use information you read to answer. Okay, so let's look at our questions. The first one says, what information would make the answer to this question more complete? The question says, where does Tabby live? And the answer says, Tabby lives in the bay. So you're looking for information to make it more complete than it already is. 2 says, turn the following statement into 2 questions. The boy was a friend of the bay. 3 says, think of a question to ask about Tabby the terrapin. What is it? Is your question easy or hard to answer? And tell why. Okay, so we are going to read Tabby the Terrapin. So let me bring that up here. Here we go. It says Tabby the Terrapin lived in a marsh near the Chesapeake Bay. She was a young turtle with a diamond pattern on her shell. Tabby loved living in the murky, salty water in the marsh. Most days she swam around looking for mussels and snails to eat. One day, while Tabby searched for food, she found a very strange object. What is this? Tabby wondered. It was clear and hard. It had writing on it. Inside was a bit of water and a small minnow. The minnow was stuck. Please help, cried the minnow. Tabby started to swim away to find help. Just then she saw a human walking closer. Tabby hid behind a clump of sea grass. She watched the human. He was a young boy. He had a large black dog. The human lifted the strange object. When he saw the minnow inside, he tipped it into the water. The minnow swam free. The boy put the strange object into the black bag. As Tabby kept watching, she saw the boy put other strange objects into the bag. After a while, Tabby knew that the boy was a friend of the bay. So this paragraph tells us about Tabby the terrapin. Let me think of a question I can ask about this information. To think of question words, I can look at the question strategy card. Go back to that. One of the question words is where. I can think of a question that starts with where, like, where does Tabby the terrapin live? That's a good question that can be answered with information from the paragraph. Do you know the answer? Well, Tabby lives in Chesapeake Bay. That question is easy to answer. Let's see if I can think of a question that's harder to answer. My questioning strategy card gives why as a question starter. Here's a question that uses that starter. Why does Tabby live in the marsh? That's a good question because we have to use more information from the text and maybe some background knowledge to answer it. Do you know the answer? Tabby lives in the marsh because she's a terrapin, which is a type of turtle. Turtles live in marshy places to find food. Good. This question made you think. As you read, it's important to ask questions and answer them and make sure you understand the text. Look at your question strategy card and make sure you ask questions. Use question words to think of more questions and give complete answers and explanations. If you need suggestions of question words, look at your question strategy card. Try to think of questions using each of these words or starters. Also, think of questions that can be answered using information from your reading. Okay, so you're going to reread the story. I'm going to have it on the page for you to reread Tabby the Terrapin, and then you're going to go back and you're going to answer those questions that we just went over. Let me show you those right here. And you want to make sure that you're answering in complete sentences and giving as much information as possible.